Right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises go to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the God of Gods. There is no other God besides Him. It's only Him. Much love to, besides the other gods He made, which is Yahweh Shai, the angels in heaven, and the Israelites on the ground. Much love to them, and there is no other gods that He made. Shout out to the beautiful elect among the children of Israel, whoever you may be among the children of Israel, and much love to the beautiful men, the beautiful Akim, the beautiful men of the New Covenant, and they do everything in their power to let us know the events, and they break down the precepts, and they break down Bible prophecies so that we will be able to understand and be able to know everything. So when Yahweh Shem Shai does signal the time for all this to come to an end, which will be soon, we were ready. We were already in the New Covenant and already just ready to go. Much love to the beautiful Aquaf, the beautiful women that's in the truth, and it's not too many of y'all, and whether you got a man or not, you still fear the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh. You listen and you learn in silence to the best of your abilities. Nobody is perfect. Now, coming back at you with another episode through the power and spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and it's been a while since, it's been like a week or two since I've done any videos, because I've been going through a lot in my life personally, and just coming out of a lifetime's worth of trouble, a lifetime's worth of pain. Yahweh just finally allowing me to go. Well, not finally. He done gave me a lot of chances to leave, but he pushed me to leave this lifestyle and to leave this oppression that I've been dealing with for a long time in my life. Today's title is the Jezebel spirit. Yeah, I know it sounds bad. I know it's towards the females, but it's got to be said because this is what I've been dealing with for a very, very long time. We know that Jezebel was the wife of Ahab. I think he was one of the kings of Israel, and he ruled wickedly in the sight of Yahweh. And it was a story about the destruction of a wicked city like Sodom and Gomorrah named Jericho. And Jericho was destroyed. He had rebuilt it, and he also had built an altar to Baal and in the sight of Yahweh Shem Shai, and he started to worship Baal because of his wife Jezebel. Now Jezebel, her name means Baal is with me, or Baal is within me, I do believe. And her father had married her off to Ahab, and he was a disciple of Baal as well. Very wicked, and she turned the city of the children of Israel into wicked, into wicked sexual immorality, child sacrifice, murder, and chaos and destruction into a lawless land. She also had a lot of all the prophets of Yahweh in the city with the Israelites killed and destroyed. And the only one that survived was a prophet named Elijah. He's very powerful, very formidable. He was also the rival of Jezebel and her husband Ahab. Now Ahab was the king of Israel for that time, but the real power behind Ahab was his wife, and she was the queen of Israel, and she helped him rule in a wicked manner. It was one story where Ahab had challenged, I do believe 70. He had challenged Elisha, and they went to this mountain, and they had challenged Elisha to a battle, pretty much of God, to see if Yahweh was real, or to see if Baal was real. So he had took 70 elders, I do believe, of Baal, and he had challenged them to a simple test to see if the altar of sacrifice would burn. So the prophets of Baal had cut themselves, had stabbed themselves, had threw blood all over the altar, and tried to call Baal down, to call Baal so he could deliver fire to the people. And they did it for a while, but nothing happened. And when Elisha did his, he took his, instead of putting fire, no, instead of putting anything, how you doing? Um, Instead of putting any type of, instead of putting, blood or anything like that on there, or you know, he put the wood on there. But one key that I noticed, that he put fire on, no, he put water on the altar. He drenched the altar and the sacrifice in water, and then he prayed to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and Yahushai dropped fire from heaven and burnt up the water and burnt up the sacrifice. And you know, it made Ahab and his wife very angry. You know, so they sent assassins to kill Elisha, but Elisha had left and fled to the mountain of Horeb to meet with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and to see how he would deal with Ahab and his wicked wife. So he had ended up crowning another person. I forgot his name. He had ended up crowning another person and anointing him king over Israel, and allowed him to overtake Israel. So during that process, Ahab's wife, which is Jezebel, had did something real bad, like real bad, real evil. There was a vineyard that wasn't too far off, you know, and it belonged to a man named I do believe his name is Naboth, the Jezreelite, and he had a beautiful vineyard. And he owned it, and it was belonging to his fathers and his father's generation. So he had approached Naboth, I do believe his name is Naboth, and he had asked if he could buy the vineyard, because in his kingdom it was nothing but you know, death and destruction, and there was no vineyard in his kingdom. So he wanted it, you know, and it happened to be nearby, you know. So he asked him, could he buy it? And he said that he couldn't sell it because it belonged to him and his fathers, and he wouldn't sell it at all. You know, so it actually made Ahab real sad, you know, real depressed, real felt, you know, was real jealous. And so in his wickedness, he had ran and fell on his bed, and he was all depressed and boo-hooing, you know, as wicked as he was, even though he had everything and he could do whatever he wanted. He was the king of Israel, you know, anointed at that. It wasn't enough for him. It wasn't enough for him, and as bad as he had been in the eyes of Yahweh, you know, you would think that the Lord had given pretty much everything in his hands, and it wasn't enough for him. So his wife came along, because he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't celebrate and be married. And his wife asked him, why you sad? And he told him the reason, and she was like, get up, eat, rejoice, because I would get you the vineyard of Naboth. So she put a decree out, and she set Naboth up. And what had happened was two accusers had accused Naboth of I don't know, I do believe something, I forgot what it was, but they had falsely accused them. The people believed it, and they took Naboth and drug him off to be stoned, and then it left his vineyard unoccupied, and allowed Ahab to take it. So Ahab had, when Ahab heard that his wife had done this, he had rushed up to claim the vineyard, and Elijah had met him and told him that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai would destroy his house and destroy his children, and destroy Jezebel too for what they had done. So shortly after, the new anointed king had came with his armies, and they had came to take it over. And it got taken over so fast to the point to where I forgot. I didn't read what happened to Ahab. I forgot what happened to him, but his wife, you know, Jezebel, the kingdom got taken over so fast to the point to where she didn't even realize that she had lost control. She wasn't no longer in control. So what had happened is that she dressed herself as a prostitute, and it was already men behind her. And when the new anointed king of Israel told the men to push her out of the tower that she was in, they pushed her out of the tower, and she fell all the way to her death. And all her blood splattered across the wall and across the floor, and she died. Now, she was a queen of Israel, and by right, if you got the king's bloodline, you're supposed to be buried with the kings out of respect. But what had happened was when they came down to get her body, the only thing that was left, by the time the dogs had came and got her body, and the only thing that was left was her hands, her feet, and her head. And that was the end of her. That was the end of her. And from her wicked rule to her, the procedures of Baal, they had what had happened is that they was having sexual immorality, so they would have orgies every day, man-on-man contact, woman-on-woman contact, probably bestiality. That's not a surprise. And in the midst of all of that, they would do child sacrifice to Baal on respected days. So it was Israel was deep because of what Ahab did. Israel was deep into wickedness, but it was a lot of kings before him that did a lot of wickedness and that was cut off. But this is what happens when the children demanded a king to be set over them instead of and not Yahweh. So that story was for reflecting the fact that the spirit of Jezebel is here to this day. And it resides in a lot of women that don't have the covering of Yahweh. Now, for the women that have the covering of Yahweh, and they know it, the spirit of Jezebel is probably no longer within them. But a majority of the women that don't believe, the spirit of Jezebel is in them, and it's full of tyranny, to run over men, to rule over men, and to control everything, and to run everything. And to destroy and to oppress Israel, and to keep them under oppression and to keep them under rule. And they worship other gods, and they deal in wickedness. So when you're dealing with this kind of thing, well, actually, no, you don't have no idea. Yeah, it's like it goes much more in depth than that, especially to the brothers that grow up and they live in this type of society. They live in this type of reality, and this is what a lot of us brothers coming out of, dealing with women running us and women ruling over us and us being raised by women instead of men, and it also leads to us being our masculinity taken away. We've been feminine to a kind of degree, and coming out of this with a female mindset because of the women that we live with and we raised by on a day-to-day basis, and it's constantly beat into our heads because you don't have a real man, or you don't have nobody there to help you or to take care of you, or you got strange men around you that just make the problem worse. You got to deal with a lot of wickedness day by day, and you grow up with this. You grow up with this type of wickedness. This becomes a normal thing for you. This becomes something that's just, it's just the way life is for the moment, until the day that you come out of it, which can be like, this could last for like 14 to 20 years, man. You happen to deal with this. And now everybody is different. They go through it. They all go through it, but they all are different. Some people catch on quicker than others, and some of us try to deal with it out of love and end up getting stuck. And then you got some of us that get out of it immediately. But for those of us that's coming out of it, and we all lead to the same destination. For those of us that come out of it, we realize just how bad it really is. And what type of darkness that was upon us, because I was just going through that, and I found myself seeing 3 generations of it, and it's being passed down from generation to generation. So I see this wickedness firsthand, But when I was younger, I didn't have the intelligence to actually understand what I was dealing with and how bad it was. you know, and it went from family member. No, it went from from my mom's side. You got her sister, you got her, you got my granny, you got my sister, you got my mom's sister, you got her, and then you got the daughters that they have down, going on down. So it passes. The spirit of Jezebel passes down from generation to generation, and I happen to see that, and then I'm like, just like, damn, like, like this is really what it is. They actually teach their daughters this. They even teach the sons this. So the sons grow up with a feminine mindset. They really not understanding the world. Even though, and it's strange, even though they go to school, they graduate, they do all of this, they still lack that masculine department. They still lack that understanding department of just exactly what they're dealing with. And they taught to be distant from men, but they taught to be closer to women, and I'm not saying that as a strange thing. It's normal, but at the same time, there should be a brotherhood among our people. There should be some type of unity among the brothers, but we constantly being pulled apart by women, and by wicked women at that, by constantly whispering in their ear and constantly trying to tell them what they think they should hear. And it's soothing because they getting what they want, sex or whatever this woman can provide. But at the same time, it's taking you away from what's really important, taking away from your masculinity, from your control, from your freedom of you doing what you want to do, because a lot of men give a lot of things up to women, and they have no idea just how important those things are. Like it says, for many men have fallen due to their wits. No, for many men. Wait, I gotta get it. Uh-oh. Oops. Wait, I remember now. It says, for many men have gone out their wits for women and have become servants of them. So that right there is very deep, because that's exactly what happened to men. They lose their leadership. Right, they let sexuality allow them to lose themselves, and they desires to have women to lose themselves. And this has been what they've been taught by other women, single moms and all that and whatnot, or women that hate their relationship. They don't really want to be in a relationship with the man that they with, and they teach their kids and their sons, and they raise their sons and their daughters on how they want them to be and what they want them to be. So it's like, it's like a real demonic thing, because these men are coming out with a feminine mindset and don't even know it. And then they go into their relationship and they allow the woman to do the same thing that their mom did. It's weird. It's like whether you want to be a man or you want to be a child still, and it's just a lot to deal with that. So we could get another Bible scripture with this. I'm carrying all of this stuff and I'm stuck. My hands are stuck. Carrying too much, doing too much. And this is what it is right here. I found something. And then it's in the book of Revelation. It says, notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. And you got a lot of women right there that's doing that, and that's the reason why I say women shall learn in silence, but to the best of their ability. But if they talking about Yahweh Shem Yahushai and sharing Bible scriptures, that's fine. But for them to go out and to teach men, the ways of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, when the Lord didn't send them, that is a problem in itself. So, and the truth is the truth. But, living in the congregation amongst the Israelites, you'll see a lot of this, the Israelites still bringing their old ways into the truth, which is actually, when they do something like that, they actually stop. They actually putting a wall or a stumbling block on themselves to stop them from getting into the new covenant. Because that's one thing that a woman has to do when she comes into the new covenant, is give her leadership to the prophets, give her leadership to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and to allow the man to take role and to lead in her life. Now, you got a lot of women that's doing that in the Christianity department, and it is the worst. Due to the enemy getting them to believe in this lie, they making thousands, millions of dollars off allowing the women to preach and allowing the women to prophesy, and they talking about nothing but lies, and they talking about nothing but false ideology. Just continuing that vicious circle of theirs on how they get these people trapped and misguided and believing in something that's entirely not true. And the men make it worse. The men and the congregation make it worse, because most of the women, most of the congregation is made up of a lot of women. A lot of men are stuck in it, but it's a lot of men that actually catch on and they start abandoning those kind of learnings, especially with the truth being so visible nowadays. It's a lot of men that's actually leaving, and they don't want to be a part of the Christianity part of it's not even in the Bible. They just don't want to be a part of that congregation, because it's nothing but lies. It's just another form of a nightclub, and the day club, and they worship and they praise other gods and different idols. Not just Jesus. It'd be multiple gods that they worship. They worship the Santeria. They worship they worship Mary. They worship Zeus. They don't even know that. And other idols that they worship, and that's why he says that. And then we got. And now we got Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 through 21. It says, "Now the works of the flesh are manifest." It says, "Which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, and I don't know this other, covetousness. I don't know that other word. I don't understand that." So it's that right there is very prevalent. Adultery, fornication, and uncleanliness, whether it come to worshiping other gods, or it come to fornication and adultery, constantly cheating. You got a boyfriend, but that's not enough. You got a side piece, things like that. So and uncleanliness, that's the same thing. And this is what it's leading to as well. It says, Revelations 21, chapter 21, verse 8, it says, "But the fearful and the unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and the whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, and which is the second death." So if you continue to follow the ways of the women and dealing with the women that are immoral, not all of them, but a lot of these women are immoral. They actually not smart at all, and in their wickedness they go against Yahweh. Now I've seen this multiple times. Bro. I've seen them sit there and listen to a whole lesson about Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. I've seen them sit there and read along the Bible and be like, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai this, and have a whole conversation, and next thing you know, they go back to drinking, they go back to fighting, they go back to destroying everything, and still try to quote a Bible scripture in front of your face, man. I've seen this so many times, man. A lot of these fake people doing that. It'd be men too, you know, but I've seen a lot of women do that too. They quote the Bible in front of your face, and next thing you know, they back smoking weed. Next thing you know, they back drinking. They smoking cigarettes, and they want to quote all that in front of your face. Now, when you have that understanding and you understand that truth, you know, because we've all been there, you know, you're supposed to over time do away with all of that. You know, we all come out of it. You know, we all come into the truth, and we still be lying to ourselves. But at some point, you're supposed to do away with it. No, it's not being done away with. They doing the full thing, and they talking about, I know Yahweh watching over me. I know the Lord loved me and this and that, and I prayed to Yahweh. No, they don't pray. They don't care about that. They don't care about none of that. They care about getting their way. They try to use the Bible to win you over, and then at the end of the day, they still betray you. You know, they still do things the way they want to do things, and they could care less about you. They even look down on you, because being in the truth is an act of kindness. I'm sorry. Being in the truth is an act of kindness. You being kind, you being nice. You know, a lot of women are turned off to that. You being generous, you following Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, for some reason, it turns them off. For some reason, it makes them press more against you. Don't know why, but I've encountered that too. They even want to attack you. I even got people put their hands on me just for me being the way I am, just for me believing in the Bible and all that. Sat there and prayed with this person. 2-3 weeks later, I got attacked by this person. So I don't want to hear, any of that, or anything anybody got to say. Not that anybody's kind of listening. Nobody not really listening. But I'm just saying, like, I don't like to hear anything that anybody got to say about that department, or you bashing women too much. No, I done seen a lot of wickedness that a women do over the years, day by day, hour by hour. I done sat there and really saw it and seen it for myself, like, damn, like, this is just what it is, and the Lord had to show it to me every day. And I'm not saying that a lot of women are evil. The women in the new covenant aren't evil. That's if they in the new covenant. It ain't a lot of women that's in the new covenant. It's not a lot. But the majority of these females, and it makes them, it actually makes you dumber, when you in your wickedness. But they think they smart, they got their little diplomas, they got their little houses and their little cars, and they feel like, well, shit, since I accomplished this, I can do anything that I want. Nobody can stop me, and they live life at a high speed. There's always got to be some type of fun. They always got to be traveling. There's always got to be some type of guy after guy after guy. I done seen it ever since I was a child. Now that I'm grown, still seeing it, still same pattern, same thing. It ain't nothing new. But over time, they burn out very quickly. It's the difference between men and women. Women just don't have the endurance, man. They don't. They really don't. And if they do have the endurance, they mind and ran out of gas a long time ago. It's their body that's still pushing and still operating at a level to where they can function, they can work, they can survive in society, but they can't do it to the level of men. And at some point, they break down and they give up, and that's just the end of it, And they live life so fast, man. And I'm trying to tell you, man, I done seen all kind of stuff when I was growing up, when I was a child. And I done seen women do all kind of things. I done seen even young women do all kind of stuff, and they not blamed, or they not held accountable for what they do, and they actually do a lot of wickedness and able to run free at the age of 13, at the age of 14, 15. They doing all kind of stuff. They're not being controlled, unhinged, and they become wicked, and they feel like they can do anything that they want in their life because it ain't a man there to give them a proper whooping. Their mama is not controlling them, Nobody's there to punish them. In fact, they're attacking the mama. They're attacking the mama. Mama attacking them. Next thing you know, they kicking it, drinking and smoking with the child, and drinking and smoking with the mom. I done seen a lot of this, man, and it's ridiculous. And the only way for you to deal with this is for you to get out of it. I'm in Esdras chapter 1. First book, Esdras chapter 1, verse 1. Wait. No, I'm in first book of Ezra, chapter 1, verses 14. It says, O ye men, is it not the king, nor the great multitude of men, neither it is wine that excelleth? It says, who is it then that ruled them, or hath worship, or hath lordship over them? Are they not women? It says, women have borne kings and all the people that bear rule by sea and land. It says, even of them came they, and they nourished them up that planted the vineyards from whence the wine cometh. It says, these also make garments for men, these bring glory unto men. It says, and without women cannot men be. Because one of these guys had happened to worship women, and one of the guys, because they came before the king to say which is the best. It says, men, multitude or controlling men, or wine, or women. And this guy said that women is the best in his opinion. It says, even if they came and they nourished and them that be planted the vineyards from whence the wine cometh, it says, these also make garments for men. It says, these bring glory unto men, and without women men cannot be, which is low-key. That is true, but at the same time it's not. It says, and letting all those things go, it says, do they not gape it even with the mouth, open mouth, fix their eyes fast on her, and have not all men more desire unto her than unto silver or gold or any goodly thing whatsoever? It says, a man leaveth his own father that brought him up in his own country, and cleaveth unto his wife. That is true. It says, he sticketh not to spend his life with his wife, and remembereth neither father nor mother nor country. It says, by this also you must know that women have dominion over you. Do you not labor and toil and give and bring all that to a woman? That is true. It says, yeah, a man taketh his own sword and goeth away to rob and steal, and to sail upon the sea and upon the rivers. That's the same thing a lot of men are doing. They doing a lot of these things to impress men. No, to impress females. They'll go and beat up a man if it turn a woman on. They can go rob their own brothers and, start drama with their own people if the woman like it. Anything to entertain a woman so the women can give them what they want and they can love them and they can be accepted. Well, you don't even have to do all of that. At the end of the day, you can just be yourself and a woman will like you. Be yourself, be into yourself, work on yourself, find yourself, and women will find you. But you got a lot of sympathetic men that do what women should be doing, and they should be chasing themselves rather than chasing women. But they chasing women, and they pretty much exalt the woman as the man. The man is the prize. The man is supposed to be entertained. Not the woman. The woman is supposed to be chasing the man and do what she can to get the man attention. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, these men are taking it to negative aspects, to negative extremes, to get a woman and to keep a woman, man. It's not. Men. I've seen a lot of men do a lot of bad things just to get a woman, and then sometimes they do things just to get attention, and they don't even get the woman that they want. They don't even get that attention, But this is what they do. It says, and looketh upon a lion and goeth in darkness, and when he hath stolen, spoiled, robbed, he bringeth it to his love. That's right. It's a lot of men that's doing that, and they do it to their own people just to bring it back to a female. Next thing you know, he go to jail or he die, and she move on to the next dude. The next dude is doing the same thing. It says, wherefore a man loveth his wife better than his father or his mother. It says, yes, many have been run out of their wits for women and have become servants of them. It says, It says, and many have also died and have erred and sinned for women. Yep, for a woman. I done heard a lot of stories like that. Men dying for females, men getting beat up for females, you know. It was one story where a female was getting into it with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend was a part of a gang. Next thing you know, some guy had got in between an argument, you know, and he had nothing to do with the situation. And because I guess the guy was putting his hands on his girlfriend, but he jumped in, called himself defending her. Next thing you know, him and his gang jumped that man, and they beat him to death. So, you know, that's just a quick story on how, you know, to avoid certain things. Like they say nowadays, chivalry is dead, man. You know, being the white knight is dead, man. Either you you better off in this world protecting yourself. You know, not no woman, you know. In certain instances, you might have no choice, you know, but, you know, most of the time you do have a choice. You can walk away. You don't have to deal with women like that. You could deal with them from a distance, so to speak, and you don't have to deal with them with no attachments nowadays. But, you know, you got a lot of men that's dying over females, man. A lot of them. But that's just one story among many, you know, a quick story. But, yeah, man, you got a lot of men that's doing that, man. Men that'll die for these females. Men that's paying for everything, taking care of everything, you know, and still allowing her to be over them. You know, I done seen a lot of my family members that are my brothers or my cousins, you know, come under the rule of women. You know, one of my brothers, he just barely getting out of college, got a woman pregnant. Woman automatically over him. You know, done threw most of his time away, done got some girl pregnant, you know, and that's gonna be a part of his life, making his life much more difficult. And this is because he being misguided and he don't know no better. And he let the people around him win. You know, I got my other brother, same way. He let the female run him, take control of him, beating him up, attacking him. Next thing you know, he put his hands on that woman and he ended up in jail. Now the relationship is all back to normal because he defended himself, which is ridiculous, you know, and very dangerous, you know, because you getting into something like that could cost you your life, could cost you your job, could cost you your money, you know, especially when a woman sees you below her, so she could be able to do anything that she wants and you allowing her to. You know, nowadays we call them simps and we call them tricks. You know, that's what they are. You know, got a cousin, same way. He let women run over him and hit him. He let women run over him and control him and do anything they want. They can even control him. He's so bad in his relationships, they control him to go against his own family. To the point to where they burning bridges, to the point to where he feel like, well, as long as I got her, I don't need nobody else. Until the day that the female leave, and now he ain't got nobody, he ain't got no friends, he ain't got his family members around him. Don't nobody want to be around him. You know, and that's his story. You know, and he 40 years old, damn near 45, and he's still going through the same thing. You know, that's why I told you, when you can get stuck, a man can get stuck in this type of mindset. It's very dangerous, man. And then you go on to grow up to be like that, and you don't come out of it. You don't even question. You don't even think outside of the box. You could just get stuck in this demonic mindset, you know, and you stuck like that forever until you tired, until it's time for you to grow up. But sometimes it could be too late. You got like 40 to 50-year-old men looking back on their life, and they go tell the younger ones, stay away from women and don't get them pregnant and don't be like me. You know, and you, what's the point of you teaching them and you didn't learn? You know? So I'm gonna close out because this is all I got. I'm gonna ramble on. I know I'm gonna ramble on. I'm just now getting back on and cooking everything back up. I'm gonna post this on my new channel, you know, and slowly but surely just keep trying to build. I'm gonna start making more shorts, even though I'm not really good at that, but I'm just gonna keep going. You know, I'm happy to be out of my situation and out of what I went through, but looking back on it, I had to look back on it, and most of my life was made up of this. So now I'm at a new chapter of my life, and I finally stepped out of this, and I'm in a new situation. I'm more capable, I'm more better, and I'm in a new chapter of my life, and it's not governed by women. It's only ruled over by Yahweh, you know, in the name of Yahweh Shai, and it's him, and then it's me. And that's it, you know. And the Lord has given me more freedom and given me control of my own life without having to deal with the darkness that these females bring, and dealing with the demonic routine that I went through every day that just became normal to me. So now that I'm out of it and I'm looking at this long road, years and years and years, like damn near 25, 15 to 25 years of going through this and having women rule over me, having to deal with their strangeness, having to deal with this demonic energy, their corruption, their destruction, and just moving place to place with no control, over my own life, just looking back at it now, it's like, I'm glad I'm out. I'm never going back. And with that, calling Yahweh Shem Yahushua in the name Yahushua, it's on to the next video. Shalom.